Okay, Kevin, we're taking a look at AFC teams that did not make the playoffs last season who will be playing after Week 17 this year. I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs. You're taking the Bills. Go ahead.
Driving the Bills bandwagon, Arthur. They had a great offseason, adding Mario Williams and Mark Anderson. When you look at what they did last season, remember, this team was in first place in the AFC East before injuries completely riddled them. You're talking about your three best players, Eric Wood, Fred Jackson, Kyle Williams, end up on injured reserve, and then everything fell apart. I think this is the year they finally end that drought.
That story certainly sounds familiar. You want to talk about a team that dealt with injuries. The Kansas City Chiefs had also arguably their three best players, their biggest playmaker on each side of the ball in Jamal Charles and Eric Berry going down. Both going to be back at full health. You also want to talk about a team who was able to overcome some of that adversity last season. The Chiefs would have been in the playoffs if it wasn't for a blocked field goal in Week 17, despite losing all those guys we talked about, among others, and their starting quarterback, Matt Castle.
Well, before those guys got hurt, they played the Buffalo Bills and got crushed. So aside from Tony Moeaki, who was already hurt beforehand. So the Bills already have shown they have the upper hand over Kansas City. I think these two teams are similar. They have those offensive weapons, questions at quarterback. But I think what the Bills did on the defensive side of the ball, adding Mario Williams and Mark Anderson that pass rush, Stephen Gilmore at cornerback, their first-round pick. Love what they did. Cordy Glenn at left tackle on offense. Did everything they needed to do to improve on a team that really looked like one of the better teams in the NFL at the beginning of last season.
I think the defense has a chance to be very good. I think Romeo Crennel has the Chiefs defense already very good. They were playing super solid at the end of last season. And something you talk about hitting on, adding depth. Certainly the Bills did a little bit of it in certain areas. The defense is going to be a lot better. I worry about certain areas. You talk about Cordy Glenn. I don't know if that's going to be a strength or a weakness. They need to replace Ryan Fitzpatrick's blindside protector. Number 2 wide receiver spot is somewhat up in the air. Meanwhile, the Chiefs' main focus this offseason was adding depth. They saw Charles went down. They added a bruiser in Peyton Hillis. They saw Moeaki went down. They added Kevin Boss. They added Stanford Routt after losing Brandon Carr. I just love what they did this offseason.
I apologize, Arthur, but Peyton Hillis, Stanford Routt, Kevin Boss, those doesn't do much for me. I mean, it doesn't make me really excited about the Chiefs' playoff prospects. I mean, I think they have that thunder lightning thing going in the backfield and can maybe return to being one of the league's better rushing offenses. But that's a team that still hinges on Matt Castle. Can he stay healthy? Can he return to that form we saw a couple years ago? I think the jury's still out. I think Stanford Routt might be one of the more overrated cornerbacks in the NFL, and considering how much he was getting paid and all the hoopla around him when Oakland cut him. So I still think there's a lot of question marks in Kansas City. With Buffalo, they have some young guys in secondary, as you mentioned, Cordy Glenn at left tackle, but you know what you're going to get from Stevie Johnson, Fred Jackson, and C.J.
What about David Nelson, Scott Chandler, Ryan Fitzpatrick? Do you really know what you're going to get out of him? He looked pretty darn good before he got that deal last year. Kind of went in the tank a little bit. We've seen Matt Castle lead a team to the playoffs before. He has put up Pro Bowl numbers. Haven't seen that from Fitzpatrick yet. Beyond that, I have to say I definitely prefer Dwayne Bowe, Jonathan Baldwin. We talked about Moeaki and Boss. I just think there's a lot more playmakers in addition to what Kansas City has going on in the backfield. We didn't talk about Eric Winston. I should have mentioned him earlier. He fortifies what was already a pretty solid line, getting younger, getting more athletic. I think the Chiefs are going to be a tough team to contend with this season.
They will. They do have to play Peyton Manning twice a year in the Broncos, so I don't really envy them for that. I think that Chargers team in that division is going to be a lot better than people are giving them credit for. Obviously, the Bills got to play the Patriots twice a year, but they beat the Patriots once last year. The Jets are on the downswing. The Dolphins are rebuilding, so I think the Bills are going to have an advantage in that category. And I think when you look at Kansas City, you talked about the quarterback situation between Fitzpatrick and Castle. I think you can almost call it a wash. I'm going to put a little more in Fitzpatrick. I think he showed a lot at the beginning of last year. They bring in David Lee to help him out with some technique things, and he got Vince Young as a backup. So at least the Bills have a good backup situation.
Vince Young is what we're hanging our hat on.
At least they have somebody.
That should really sum this whole argument up. But I do have to say quickly, thank you for mentioning the Patriots and the AFC East. You can talk all you want about the AFC West. Chargers may be better. The Chargers should be better. We don't know what we're going to see out of Peyton Manning, but the Broncos have a chance to be good. We know what Tom Brady and the Patriots are going to be. It's very good. You say the Jets are on the downswing. They're still very talented. Sure, they missed the playoffs last year. They may have a chip on their shoulder as a result. I'm not ready to totally rule them out yet, but I'd like to go back to Vince Young, and you're hanging your hat on him. Well, that's a lovely way for me to
You want to go
end
Vince
things.
Young versus Brady Quinn? I'll take Vince Young over Brady Quinn any day of the week. I'll take Vince Young over Ricky Stanzi any day of the week.
At least we know Brady Quinn's going to be able to learn his playbook. He's going to be okay there, and you know what you're going to get in him.
You know what? If Vince Young struggles, they'll just put Brad Smith in, run the Wildcat. I trust Chan Gailey in that offense to find a way to make it work. And this is all if Fitz gets hurt in the first place. So we're just looking at depth here, and I'm still going to take Buffalo's depth over Kansas City's.
Okay, well, I'll take the other side of the argument, and it's been a good one. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out.